democracy and the rule of law. And she's going to be our moderator, asking the good questions tonight, and she'll also introduce our panelists. So thank you for coming and enjoy the program.
A big shout out to Stan, because, well, I've known Jared since his sophomore year, now 4 years ago, and I know how active he's been in Stan. So a big shout out to all of his because this is a really active student group doing very, very important work. Not just around Burma, but around the issue of mass atrocities around the world. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all here tonight. We're learning a lot more about Burma as it opens up. We're hearing some good stuff. We're hearing that Burma is absolutely awash with natural resources. On the other hand, we're hearing that global capital is very quickly dashing into Burma before there's any real legislation on foreign investment. We're learning that cell phone coverage is going out from Yangon further north, and this is going to help banking and other communications. But we're also learning that certain elites are getting much more access to that sort of mobile technology than others. So it's a very mixed message of the last few years that we've been hearing from Burma, and the students here aren't old enough to remember, but I remember when I was doing my PhD during the course of the end of the Cold War and beginning and then the Berlin Wall coming down, and the beginning of all of the ethnic conflict in Eastern Europe. And unfortunately, we are observing that there are some elements of the eruption of civil violence in a country that is opening up to democracy, but some very, very old ghosts are now coming out of the cupboard. And the question is, how can we learn more about that from here? And to the extent that we, sitting here, are able to put pressure on the US government or on global capital, what exactly should we be putting pressure on for exactly what sort of outcomes? It's my great pleasure to introduce the panelists tonight. If you have this brochure, I'm going to introduce them in a slightly different order because the order of the panel will be slightly different. The first person who will speak will be Yusuf Iqbal, who sits in front of me here. He was born in Shan State, and we have a map up here, and maybe one of the first things you can do, Yusuf, is point out where that is. He received his Bachelor of Management Information System in Malaysia, where, as you probably know, many of the Burmese diaspora go, also Thailand, for their education, and now lives in Portland, where he's the leader and organizer for the Burmese Muslim community up there. He has co-founded Americans for Rohingya and the Oregon Rohingya Society, and has organized many, many public rallies throughout the US in support of human rights for the Rohingya, one of the groups that we've been hearing so much about who've been victimized in the violence in Burma. He was lead coordinator for last month's Day of Action for the Human Rights in DC, and has been working very much with the various Burmese organizations in the Bay Area and elsewhere to make those points in DC. So Yusuf will kick off. Our second speaker will be Lwin, who sits at the back, who was born in Rakhine State, Burma, and belongs to the ethnic Rakhine people. He attended Htay College in Burma and was an activist during the so-called, the Orange Revolution, the revolution in 1988, which was led by Burmese and joined by the Buddhist monks in Burma, and he's a member of the All Burma Student Democratic Front, which still exists in Burma to this day. In fact, in my first travel through Burma about 2 years ago, I was very honoured to be accompanied by 2 members of that organisation there. He served as Secretary General of the Burmese Society in New York, and is one of the founders of the Burmese Muslims Association. He's been an active human rights defender of the Rohingya since 2008 and founded the Myanmar Muslim Civil Rights Movement in 2012. He also blogs. You'll find his blog and his blog handle and his internet handle on this brochure here. The last speaker I'm very pleased to introduce is Myra Dahgaypaw. Dahgaypaw, I got that right for the second time. Myra is a Karen human rights activist from Karen State, and I hope you'll also point that out to Myra, in eastern Burma. She was an IDP for about 12 years in Burma, and then a refugee for 17 years. This is not an uncommon trajectory for those fleeing conflict in Burma, and was resettled in the United States. She is in the course still of obtaining her citizenship papers from Burma, so that she's still not able to travel to Burma as she doesn't have papers. She's lost many family members and friends to the Burmese military regime, many of whom remain, of course, in office today. Since 13, she's played a strong role in her community as an organizer and a human rights advocate, and as a member of the Karen Women's Organization and a board member of the Karen American Communities Foundation, has testified before the Tom Lantos Human Rights Commission. She helps those who come from Burma and helps them resettle here. So we will start with Yusuf. We will then go to Htay and finish with Myra. They're each going to speak. Some have PowerPoints, some do not. They'll speak for about 15 minutes. If I have questions or you have questions for the three of them to interact, we'll do that immediately after their talk, and then we'll open it up. If there's lots and lots of questions, I might wind up taking 3 questions at a time and ask that they be answered. But I know that all 3 of our panelists are very keen to have an open discussion to and fro. Of course, it's important that all our questions and queries and statements are made respectfully. There's people from many different sides of the fence in the room, and we're eager to hear all points of view. So with that, Yusuf, it's over to you.
That is called, it may be one of very few events that is holding about Rohingyas in this prestigious university like Stanford. Maybe in the Stanford this is the first time. So I know that American University in DC, Myra did, and not many, because it is not known to many people yet. So for here, what we are going to do is I'm going to introduce maybe some of our new students who is in Burma. So let me go with Burma map in Google. I used to be very good in geography. I may not be that good now, but I will try my best. So this is where Burma is, and this area is called Htay, and here is a neighboring with the Bangladesh and India, and this part is called Htay. Then it's go to this area is called Htay, and this part is called Shan, and then this area is Korean area. So basically, Burma used to be an empire. It was composed of many small kingdoms before 17th century. So Burma was the central part is the area is the Burma, and then the kingdom was strong, and then start having a smaller kingdom into Burma until British invaded Burma. So this part we are actually I'm going to talk generally about Muslims in Burma. So Let me get my PowerPoint. Okay, Burma is actually composed of 135 to 150 ethnic groups, and the majority of the majority of the ethnic group is called Burman, who is controlling all the governments and all the key positions, and the rest of more than 145 groups, they are actually sort of under colonized by the same empire. So that's create actually conflict all the time. So after British left, the Burma, we have democratically elected government, and try to bring all together, and try to have regional autonomy and all this. Then it's collapsed because of the military coup in 1962. And General Lwin started with Burmanization policy. So it's tried to bring all the Burmanization. So that's actually the root cause of all the conflict. Before we go there, I want to emphasize more on today about the Muslims. So because we don't want to have too broad this discussion. Let's narrow down to the Muslim. Unless you have a question answer later on. How is the other ethnic issues related to the Muslim, we will answer that. There are actually, after General Lwin, who came to the power in 1962 with the military coup, he tried to actually corrupt the history and try to eradicate the history of various peoples in this land, especially the Muslims. So he tried to make Muslim is the immigrant during the colonial time, and then we will show you some evidence about Muslims. There are actually Muslim was existed in Burma even in prehistorical time. Some of the people who are like, for example, Rohingyas, they used to be Buddhist or atheists or Hindus. They converted to Muslims. So before they were Muslim, they lived there. So here, if you see that on 9th century Muslims, we have recorded that Muslims were there, and then there was a kingdom called, it's the first Burmese empire is Anorta. His time there was a Muslim was there. One of his governor in the Bago state, his name is Abdurrahman. He was a Muslim also, and also. There are some Burmese people, they believe in the spirit, which means that they are not Buddhist. They believe in the spirit and they pray to the spirit. They offer something to the spirit. So there are two spirits of the ancient Burma. One of them is Biawi and Biata. They are actually also a Muslim. It is like 9th, 10th century time. So this. So there are also, as usual in every places, before there is no immigration policy. Immigration policy was started mostly after Second World War. So people used to move around where they get political asylum for many reasons. Just like people came to America. So like 500 years ago, people came to this country because of the political persecution or better economic opportunities, because there is no immigration policy yet. The same things, there are different part of Muslims from around the world. They go to Burma for various reasons. So there are some of them came like about 17th century or 14th century for trade or missionary or so many reasons. So this is another map how the Muslim was arrived to Burma. Some of them came from India and by sea, And also from China, there are a Muslim group we call in Burma Panti. They also came to Burma. And also they used to have some kind of regional war. Then the Burmese king, sometimes they won the war, and then they brought some as a refugees or some educated people to serve in the kingdom. If you see, this mosque look like a pagoda, Buddhist pagoda. This is actually in Mandalay, and it was built by the Burmese king. He built this. It's next to very close to his palace, and also in Mandalay Palace, there is a mosque. There was a mosque there. During the military junta time, they demolished because they want to eradicate the historical evidence that Muslims were, exist long time ago. And this is also one of the ancient mosques, Chinese Muslim who migrated from China. So Muslim actually used to involve very actively in the Burmese politics. During independence struggle time, there were a number of Muslim leaders who fought independence for Burma. And some of the prominent ones here, one of them, his name is Razak, who was assassinated with Bocho Aung together with Bocho Aung. And another person he's a close friend and advisor of Bocho Aung, who is the Aung San Suu Kyi father. His name is Rashid. We have his relative here sitting down here together with you. And also we have Htay. Here is how Htay. I need to tell you a little bit more about Rashid and Htay. Rashid was when he was the president of Student Union of Burma, and then he was actually started for the revolution of the Burma, and he is very close friend of Burma. And even a time that Bocho Aung San, in the middle of the night, he go to Rashid's house, he knocked the door, and they discussed about the politics. They were that close. And Htay is the architect of Panelist agreement. When Bocho Aung San, he went to British to get independence, all the ethnic people protest. No, he's not our representative. So Bocho Aung San came back, and then he tried to ask all the ethnic people, we need to have a union to be stronger. And then they make an agreement. It's very important in Burmese history. It's called Panelist Agreement. And in that Panelist Agreement, Bocho Aung San was living without agreement, but Htay is the one who persuaded Bocho and all the ethnic people to make this agreement then, and that led to independence of Burma, and he is a Muslim. And also, if you see, recently there is a gentleman, he came to Washington, D.C. from NLD, National League for Democracy. His name is he's a lawyer. His name is, I forgot his name. Koni. Yes. He's also Muslim. And if you see, this is the Bocho Aung San and Razak picture. Rashid, yeah. Yes. Okay, actually, why I need to tell you about why Muslim is doing that. Because right now, the Burmese government is using with their propaganda machine that they are saying these Muslims are not loyal to the country, and they are recent immigrants, they are not pure, and they should not be entitled to citizenship. That's the Burmese government open policy they start doing after General Lwin came to power. And also what they are doing is they want to dehumanize the population, Muslim population, so that it will be justified by other peoples Buddhist people to do anything that they want. So that kind of thing is Burmese government is doing. Why actually Burmese government need to do this? Because it is started by General Lwin. General Lwin, he toppled the elected government, which enjoyed the public support. General Lwin do not have a public support. They want to create a kind of a system where they will have some support and they can prolong holding the power. So they are trying to create divides between whatever they can, so that they can have a support from this group of people. So General Lwin actually is not a real Burman also. And then he needs to portray to the Burman people that he is the Burmese and champion of the Burmese cause, Burman cause. He belonged to a Burmese Chinese, and when he get power, and he declared all political parties and non-government organizations as illegal entities. My father used to be one of the member of political party. They were based in Rangoon. And after Lwin came to power, he fled to Shan State. It was Namtu, very close to, because of the fear of arrest. Many of his colleagues were arrested. And then he fled there in Namtu, which is closer to China. It is actually, Burmese government do not have that much control that time. It's some kind of a rebels control area. And then from there, actually, I become, my father got married with a local woman, and then I was born in Shan State. He used to live in Rangoon. So he implemented nationalization policy, which is every private property was taken and then nationalized. And then people cannot have more than 2 houses, 2 cars, everything government take. And also they force all the foreigners to leave the country by themselves without taking any properties. And then all foreigners, some of the Indians and the Bangladeshis and then Arabs and Chinese people, they left after that operation. And also he adopted a political system which is not the same in any part of the world. And then now historians say Burmese way of socialism. And also he dismissed all the ethnic peoples from the high rank of the security forces, and then from the police forces, and then from the civilian forces. And then Muslims and Rohingyas were included there. And then also during the Lwin time, he tried to ask the people who is having in the military position and police, if you want to get promoted, you have to convert to Buddhism. We were in a city called Namsan in Shan State. My father was imam of the mosque, at that mosque. So we have Air Force base there in Namsan. There are some members of the Air Force who are Muslims. They were not coming to mosque, and then we go, and then we knew that there are some Muslim family came. My father, myself, I was 10 years old. We went there, and then we tell them we have a mosque here, Islamic center here, and then they used to come. And actually it was very good, they used to come. After some time, one of the captain, he was not coming, and then we visited him. And then we saw in his house a statue of Buddha, Buddhist, the Gautama. And my father said, what? This is against our religious. So he said, no, I converted to Buddhism. And then my father asked him, what made you to do that? He said, in my heart, I am Muslims. My God knows, but I need to be promoted. So he was converted to Buddhism. And the same thing goes to, there is an education minister during the Lwin time. What is his name? Do you remember? Education minister?
Maudi.
Maudi. Mr. Maudi. His father was one of the Islamic scholars, and he also converted to Buddhism just to get promoted in the position. So that is the during Lwin time he did. And also new settlement buildings were built throughout ethnic area. Burman people were brought there. Let me tell you about my experience. At the town called Namsan, where I live in Shan State, there are 10 or 12 Burman settlement was there. They built very nice houses and bring them. And every small villages and town, there is only 1 or 2 people is Burman. They are the head of the town or city. So that way they try to make run the country. So ethnic minorities has no representation in central government, state government, local government, and village governments. The same thing goes to Rohingyas places. And then the worst thing is, after everything is done, Lwin initiated Rohingya ethnic cleansing. So Lwin initiated ethnic cleansing, and then he started making an operation called Nagamin operation, and then about 200 to 250,000 Muslims fled to Bangladesh, and then he said these people are illegal people, they came here illegally, and many of them they show national ID card, registration card, and then he has to accept them back. And after that he tried to make sure that he has to make a law, and then which will exclude the citizenship of Rohingya, which is 1982. And my actually time is up, and I will discuss most of the stuff in the question and answer session. Before that, give me 2 minutes, because this government, Htay government, is actually doing sectarian violence. It's not sectarian violence. It is actually state-sponsored, systematic ethnic cleansing to the Muslim people. If you see Metila, there are people were killed, and then people were burned them alive, and then security forces, they are not doing anything, they are taking videotape, and to give back to the extremist people, 969 group, so that they go and give to the villagers, see how we killed. And then a group of people like this showing this video, and they mock at them. So this is the way how they are doing, all the peoples are doing with the impunity and blessing from Htay government. With that, I will.
There's so much to say. Thank you so much, Yusuf. There'll be. And now, Htay, can I tell you to come up here? We have 10 or 15 minutes of presentation, but then, of course, much more stuff at the end.
At the base was booking of Burma. I'm very well known person in Burma because of my accents. I cannot speak very correctly Burmese language and English too. That's why I'm very well known. Because I was born in Htay family and I speak Htay. When I went to Yangon, I tried to speak Burmese, but I cannot get 100%. And here too, I come to here, I'm trying to speak English, but I think my accent is very hard to understand for you. But I try to communicate with you. Today I come to here to present that the Burmese government already committed genocides and ethnocides to the Rohingya people who are living west side of the country of Burma. I mentioned that the Burmese government already committed the genocide. What I mentioned is I'm not depends on my feeling. This is not my accusations. This is not my allegations. This is based on report of Genocide Watch, the report of Human Rights Watch, and the report of 45 and other many NGOs decisions. And governments of Burmese government already admit that they commit the ethnocides on the Rohingya people. I want to show you some documents when Rohingya people were settled in Burma. So let me show you an slideshow. Every Burmese and every Rakhine people accept that our Rakhine lands are settled in last 4,000 years ago. Burmese kingdom was settled formed in AD 1055, 11th century. But before 3,000 years back, our Rakhine lands are already have the kingdoms. We have already kingdoms. The first kingdom name was the Nyawati, and the second kingdom name was Wisali. The two kingdoms belong to 3,000 years, and they ruled the Rakhine land. In that era, who lived in that Rakhine land? We think, I'm Rakhine race, I think our Rakhine people live in there, no Rohingya. So when I studied the history, I found that this history written with the Burmese language, and the name is religious people in the Nyawati era in their language. The Nyawati dynasty and Widali dynasty are last 3,000 years ago. They ruled the Rakhine land. And what language this is and here? Somebody maybe can read the Burmese. The Nyawati language and Widali language are Rohingya language. The Rohingya people still talking right now. This is not the Rakhine language. This is not the Rakhine dialect. This is not the Rakhine speakings. 4,000 years ago. This is an official language of Rakhine. And this is 1,500 years ago stone suppression. These are Rohingya language. When I read the stone suppression, when I went to college, I read it. I'm Rakhine, I don't understand. I can read it, but I don't understand. When I went to Rohingya village, I read it. They understand. I'm thinking, why? Now I'm studying, this is their language. Rakhine. Today called the land is Rakhine. This is absolutely wrong. Totally wrong. Because of in the stone suppression, the land name is Rekha. In the Rohingya language, Rekha. That means non-Rakhine land. Non-Rakhine land. The one Rekha to Arakan. And Mr. Stacy, the leader of Mr. Stacy, he changed the name Arakan to Rakhine. Last 10 years ago, no more, there is no Rakhine land in the world. Last 10 years, back to 1990, after the election, when Rakhine party go to election, their party name is Arakan. Arakan live for democracy. Arakan army. Arakan whatever. Everything Arakan, no Rakhine. But after the 1990 elections, the military regime changed the name. The name is Rakhine. So this is belong to Rohingya. And they said, including our parents and our generation, clearly said, Rohingya are foreigners. They invade to our country, not illegal people. And what invade? That means fighting and rob the land. Our family also said, Rohingya are foreigner. They invade to our country. They came in yesterday. So when I was 15 years old, I believe I hate Rohingya. Now I know this book, published in 1799, 250 years ago. The researcher is our Honorable Dr. Prasad Bhushana from British. Before British went to our country 25 years ago, Dr. Prasad Bhushana came to our country to research. In his book, page number 237, he researched the Rakhine and what he said. You can read the third paragraph here. I purchased the passage that spoken by the Mohammedan. You see? The passage that spoken by the Mohammedan who had been long settled in Aga and who called themselves Rohingya, native of Aga. By name, the Rohingya is recorded before 200 years ago, not yesterday. And then, the Rohingya, some people say Rohingya are our Rakhine people. No, totally different. Because of most of the Rakhine people believe in Buddhism. 2/3 of my family believe in Buddhism. I and some people convert to Islam. This is very recent. Very recent. But most of Rohingya people are Mohammedan. Here, this record is Mohammedan. That's why they don't come to our country yesterday. They settled in country before our Rakhine people went to there. This is Rohingya language, not the Rakhine language. Dr. Prasad Bhushana will record in his book. And I want to show you another book. This is an account of Burman Empire, published in 1852. When British ruled our Rakhine state for 25 years, they know everything. At the time, they published the book. You can read here who is Bengali and who is Rakhine, who is Rohingya. The native of Arkam probably call their name, their country, Yakai. The Hindu of Bengal. That clearly mentioned, not Muslim people. The people who believe in Hinduism, the Hindu. These are Bengali descents. And our country now like this, I don't want to mention about the by name. Some people, they say, we are native over here, we are native over here, we are not the Bengali. Actually, they are really Bengali because of our community is very narrow. We know who comes from what family. We know each person who comes from what family. So we know. But they point to other. Rohingya is Bengali. No, Rohingya is Bengali. You can read it, verse 1. And I'm pointing here. The Mongol know this country by the name of Rahan and Mohammedan, who had been long settled in the country, called themselves Rohingya, or native of Argan. Rohingya are native of Argan, not the intruder, not the later. They settled in Burma before Burmese came to our country. And you can see here, I'm pointing somewhere, the mark, the term mark. Mark is Rakhine. Today, Rakhine, they are mark. We are mark. The mark is never used by the native of Argan. Our Rakhine people are never used. We are not the native of Argan. We are one branch of the Burmese. our Rakhine people are Asian Burmese people. We a little bit dialect different, but speaking same. Culture same. Opinion same. Custom same with the Burmese. Our Arkan people is from the Burmese tribe, not the Aryan tribe. That we need to know. And today, the Burmese Buddhist point to Rohingya is the foreigner. They settled in country for 4,000 years ago. We came to that country 1,000 years ago. So we said they are foreigner. And there's something wrong. Something wrong. And there's too many documents. I don't have time. I'm passing the document here. And this is land property grant by the name of Rohingya. They own the land. And this is in 1990. Very recent. They gave the identity card by the name of Rohingya. The Burmese government gave the Rohingya people with the name of Rohingya and identity card in the 1990s. This is in 2012. The government official pressed the book, the second year university geography book. This government official pressed out. And the date of 2012 here. Chapter 6, page number 94. You can read the last 3 sentences. In the northern Rakhine state, close to the border with Bangladesh, at Budidam in Bangladesh Township, where the Rohingya in Chittagong live. Even 2012, the government official pressed a book, and they teach in the second year university. I mentioned the Rohingya. 2012, July. After 2012, July, government sponsored to wipe out the Rohingya people from the state. After 2012, September, the Rakhine Commission went to Rakhine State. They officially print out the statement. Over here, statement they print out. We don't see no more Rohingya. I said 4,000 year to 2012 July. There are Rohingya and there we have documents. After riot or killing each other, after 2012 July, you don't see any Rohingya there? They said yes. If so, you really genocided them. This is your documents. I don't mention no more Rohingya in Rakhine State. The government officially said, no more Rohingya in Rakhine State. I said, where they go to? They evaporate? Or they sink into the ground? Where? So we need to think. I come to here, I try to communicate with you with my broken English, but I would like to stand with you to fight to fight for the human rights, not only the Rakhine State. In every part of the world. When I was young, I converted to Islam. Some Muslim imam said, we hate Jew. I said, why you hate Jew? You see, you and your neighbor, where is Jew? They don't know. And Burma, our society, they don't have Jew. If you don't see nobody, why you hate? I don't like this kind of religion. Okay, I don't like this. You don't hate. He is not the competitor of he is not a rival of your business. Your education, no. But because of you never see, your generation never see. You talking about the hearsay story. Don't talk like this. I don't like people hate to people. We need to love each other. We are human beings. We need to save the minority people, wherever. So I like to stay with you, and please, you stand for the human rights and civil rights for Burma. Not only Rohingya people, we have Karen, Kachin, Mon, Shin, and many minority people has been killed right now. About 3 million Karen has been killed for 60 years in the civil war. Not only Rohingya, but right now they try to wipe out the genocide to the Rohingya. We need to do something according to the international law. Thank you very much.
And that gives me great pleasure to invite Myra.
Your English is not working. You're anywhere else. With the Rohingya situation, the government of Burma doesn't recognize them as the people of Burma, and this is where the difference comes into play. And so, I mean, think about yourself. You have lived in the United States for all these years, but then one day, if you are told that you are not the people from the US, how would you feel? Where do you belong in this world? And I think we can create a big question at this point. So I just wanted to take us back to now, because we have sort of like our historian here. Yeah, they both are historian for me. So I am not expert on this side, and I actually not really an expert on Burma anyway. So I just wanted to take us back to the current situation. And I just wanted us to put ourselves into these people's situation, whether the Rohingya or the Burmese Muslim situation. What if you wanted to visit a family member from Stanford to Oakland, and you have to submit your travel permit? How would you feel? You fall in love so much with your girlfriend or boyfriend, and you wanted to get married, but here you have to apply for a marriage permit. Otherwise, if you get married without permission, then you get thrown in jail. You become you are recognized as a criminal, although getting married is not a criminal thing. What if you want children, because especially those who get married, we all want children and therefore we get married. But then what if you are restricted to have only 2 children when you want more than 2? And then when you have more than 2 children, then you ended up doing something against the law of the Burmese authority. But the worst part, all these laws apply to only you, but not the rest of the people in the country. How would you feel? This is something that I think we need to think of. I received an email this morning telling me to be sort of like careful when I talk about Burmese Muslims or Rohingya in Burma. And then I was given a list of information to read. But hey, the bottom line, my point is, as long as the Rohingya people are human beings, they are entitled to basic human rights, the rights we have. And so my answer for that dear friend was simple. My value is human rights, basic human rights. And this is what I've been fighting for, not for just others, but for even myself. So this is all my value. I value human rights. And so likewise, I'm pretty sure you all are doing, and that is why you're here today, and thank you so much. Okay, So you may hear a lot about what's going on in Burma in the past about 2 years. A lot of times it will create a lot of questions in you. Are the information correct? Are the information exaggerated? Some of the information might be exaggerated, but some of the information will be correct also. But the bottom line, you all are very smart people, very educated, and very caring. And so I think it's very important for us to take in this information accordingly and trying to be helpful, supportive, trying to save lives instead of us becoming the perpetrators with the Burmese authority and push these people down. What if you're called ocean people? I don't want to be called ocean people. More than a year ago, when the conflicts between in Arakan State started happening, and then some of the people got on the boat, of course, trying to go to Bangladesh in order to find a safer place, but then they're pushed back. So all of a sudden, they're not belong to Burma, they're not belong to Bangladesh, and they become the ocean people. Who are going to be the ocean people aside from sea animals? And I don't think none of us, including the Rohingya people, the Burmese Muslims, they are not sea animals, they are not fish, they are not turtle, they are human beings like us. So with that, I wanted to bring us back to our U.S. policy. What do we do with what our government do here? Actually, our government, the U.S. government, does have many several different group programs, good programs, even including interfaith engagement and all this stuff. But my point is that when we have interfaith engagement, I think it's very also important to look into accountability. The bottom line, why the perpetrators keep killing people and they keep doing so and not afraid is because they are not held accountable. And that is the biggest problem. I am telling you, I'm quite sure, if somebody gets punished, some people will start learning a lesson and they will slow down. They will have a second thought before they get out there and kill people. And that's not just the Rohingya situation. That's applied to every other ethnic groups, including my Karen ethnic group too. Our people have been killed all these years, depending on which ethnic group you talk to. If you talk to Karen, it's more than 60 years. The killing is still going on because nobody gets punished, because these people get to kill with impunity. So what? Get out and kill. It's fun. So I think it is very important that we remind ourselves that we all are human beings. We are obligated to look out for each other. And who has the better opportunity to take on this responsibility if you are not? Considering we live in a country with freedom and dignity, and we have the government that is very strong and that is very believe in human rights. And that is why I wanted to urge you all today that please take this on as your responsibility to speak out for those who need our voices. We have we still have good enough numbers in Congress that are very supportive on Burma issues, that are very concerned about the Rohingya situation. So here we have in the House, we have the House resolution. I also, to make it very easy for me, I'll call it Rohingya resolution. But the resolution number is House Resolution 418. It's the resolution in the House that is not going to become a law, but at least this is a very big step that our U.S. government, our Congress, acknowledge that the Rohingya people are persecuted, and therefore we have to pressure the Burmese authority to stop oppressing, discriminating this group of people. We have it on the table, so please feel free to take it along with you. At the same time, we also have 2 other bills that we're trying to lobby it to become law. That's a different story, not the Rohingya situation, but that is the Burmese and U.S. military-to-military relations bill. The House side is H.R. 3889, and then the Senate side is S. 1885. Those are the bills that we need you to help us spread the words, lobby your government officials to co-sponsor. I also wanted to let you know that the situation in the country is not as nice as you think. I'm pretty sure you've heard, you've read, you've seen a lot of stuff that's coming up from central Burma. But remember, we have 2 phases in Burma. We have central Burma, where Rangoon is the economic capital, and then Naypyidaw is our country capital. That is known as central Burma. Whereas another Burma is ethnic minority areas that you see on the map earlier around the center. And you heard about ceasefire has been reached to a certain extent. You heard about the relaxation of media laws. You heard about the release of political prisoners. But these changes happen only to a very small extent, just because these authorities are trying to gain international legitimacy, and therefore they're trying to put out the best picture of them. But the people on the ground are still suffering. Especially the northern Burma, Kachin state, fighting is still going on. And in the past 2.5 years, we have more than 100,000 internally displaced in Kachin state alone. So I just wanted to urge all of us to take this as our responsibility. I know there are many parts of the world that you care about. At the same time, please don't forget about Burma. And this is the whole reason why we're coming and talking to you all today. I'm not talking to you in terms of for you just to hear me, but I also need your help, seriously. We have a lot more information, especially on our website, US Campaign for Burma. Please visit our website, and you're going to see pretty much updated information on a daily basis. In case if you have any further question, or if you want to debate with me, I'm open to that. My email address is Myra, M-Y-R-A-D-A-H, @uscampaignforburma.org. I'd love to hear from you, not just to debate or not just to discuss, but also maybe you can tell us to do a better work and to get our voices out more effectively. Thank you.
I'm going to kick off with some questions and maybe some more context setting. So I guess all of us here know that in order for Aung San Suu Kyi's party to be led by Aung San Suu Kyi, there will be constitutional changes required, and that for any deep change within Burma, the constitution is going to need some deep changes. We know that 32,000 requests for constitutional change have gone to a committee in Yangon, and we all know that constitutional change is like waiting for. We wouldn't want to hold our breath for the constitution to change. And in the meantime, we can see a government that is making, as you state, just enough necessary change to bring other governments with their diplomatic forces, diplomatic corps to come, and their aid organisations to come, and for foreign capital to come. And yet that root and branch change that's required at the core of the government is very, very deep change, and it needs a whole new generation of people to move on. And in the meantime, the old generation is very quickly capturing utilities, it's capturing arable land, it is not dealing really at all with the claims, the land claims of those who've been pushed off their land. And it leaves us, I think, I'll speak for myself, feeling frustrated from the outside. On the one hand, Burma needs international capital and it needs the world to watch. And on the other hand, it also needs that very deep change happening at home. So maybe I can start with you, Yusuf, and just ask for two things. If you would have us here in the audience do from here in the United States, what would it be?
The audience can do a lot of things, because
just two.
If you see, after Second World War, there are major atrocity was stopped because of the U.S. make a right decision, and then sometimes it's require a bold decision to stop this. So we have, as American citizens, we can urge American government, Congress, and Senate to do the right things. That's what we are doing, but our effort is very limited and very small, and we need to outreach more people. Tell your friends and family, at least 10 people a month. That will spread out to the whole United States. People rise up. American government will do the right things, and then people will not be killed. No.
So that's spread the word. Should the American government reimpose economic sanctions?
Not necessarily. American government has to, as like Myra said, American government has to develop a benchmark. Human rights violation, if they want to improve the relationship, they have to improve human rights standard in the country. Rohingyas' citizenship has to be recognized. Rohingyas has to be recognized as a human being. They should stop dehumanizing Rohingya people. That kind of thing, we actually had 2 days ago in the State Department, we requested the same thing. We should have that kind of benchmark set up. But it will not come just like that, because the politician and all this thing require a public pressure, so which we all can do.
So Htay, one or two things, and maybe I'll say something provocative. Should USAID insist that military training involve US boots on the ground so as to stop the killings? Would that be more incendiary? Would that be more provocative? Should US military people be involved in your country?
In my opinion, I agree with this. We need to educate the soldier, because of my family, my uncle, my own brother are soldier in the army. I know they are brave, so we need to do the brainwash there. We need to make the punishment at the top highest officer of the government. That's all we need.
And would that be a trial in the country, or would you like the International Criminal Court to somehow hold a trial outside of the country?
Yeah, so if we do the task very quickly, the country may be shaking. Because of about 40 years, the government brainwashed the people to be the very extreme nationalists. Even the monk, we are trained as an army soldier. So they said that already. We need to do the clothes, and we need to train them to brainwash. There's a one hand. The other hand is we need to return to sit to the international ICC. So we just need to know only the highest officer. So I know the mindset of Burmese. If you never punish, you never afraid. You shout at hey, finish.
Well, I'd say when it comes to military relations, we wanted to be very careful because our U.S. military system also, some pieces of it is not really as good as we would want to think. So we wanted to be careful with them. But since the U.S. government has already moved forward, I mean last year, February, the Burmese official was allowed to observe global engagement in Thailand, and then they were invited to come to Honolulu for another military event. So they already started off the relation, and we cannot stop them, no matter what. But the most important thing is to have the preconditions. Like we said earlier, okay, if you wanted to go ahead with training, whether on human side or humanitarian side, but at the same time, you have to stop. You must stop killing the Kachin people. You must stop shooting the civilians. The precondition is very important. Otherwise, right now, we have only engagement, but we have no pressure. And with the case of Burma, I've been working on Burma for some time, so I can somewhat say that pressure works in the case of Burma. So we do need pressure while we want to engage with them. I think that's the important that I want to bring back.
And yet, even though Burma is the chair of ASEAN this year, and presumably has the spotlight of ASEAN on it, we can't expect any pressure from ASEAN, can we?
No. ASEAN is toothless. Whether Burma is a chair or not, they have been this for as long as they've been around.
So what I hear you saying is that unless pressure comes from the outside and it's tied to other assistance that's happening in country, then nothing's likely to change quickly. Okay, let me open it up to other people. I see, I'm going to take 4 questions over here. Why don't I start and ask you, does everybody have a pen? Great. No. Let's do 2 questions at a time then. Yes, sir, and yes, sir.
Okay. So with receiving the Nobel Peace Prize, it's a great honor, but with it come many responsibilities. And it is my understanding, and tell me if I'm wrong, that Aung Suu Kyi has not spoken much against the persecution of minorities in Burma. And she's, as you know, extremely well known and influential around the world, and she could help turn the tide. So my question is, why is it that she has not been more vocal?
Okay, you got a note of that? And behind you, yes, sir.
Okay, to me, Burma seems to be one of a group of countries where the central government seem to think you're not a citizen of that country unless you speak only the national language, worship the national religion, and dress and act and so as the national or maybe the majority ethnic group. And I've heard, for instance, that the Burmese government's been building Buddhist temples and the Quran and other non-Buddhist areas and trying to promote that and discouraging building of churches and mosques and
I want
others.
to encourage a question here, sir.
So I'd like to know what like comments from the panel about that observation.
Great. Now, don't feel as though each of you has to answer that. There's so many other questions. So let's just take these 2. Let's start again with you.
About the Aung San Suu Kyi. Actually, 2008 they set up a constitution, which actually ultimate aim is to hold the power. The same region become a civilian government, and then they have a constitution. And then in any case, they don't want to lose the power. So in the constitution it says Aung San Suu Kyi is a criminal, she cannot be the party leader. So NLD boycott the election. So there was no major political party was in the election except all military regimes, and then they won a landslide victory because there is no opposition there. So, and then they have a government they formed, led by Htay. And then they actually they already hold the power, they want to get the legitimacy. They are not accepted by the international community. And then they did a by-election. So out of 44 seats, and then majority of them, Aung San Suu Kyi went landslide in the by-election. So which make the regime very much in fear. If they go, still now, if we can do a poll, they have actually less than 0.1% support. Only immediate family members support them. If second or third, they don't support them. So their support is very limited. So they knew that if they go for genuine democracy, free and fair election, they will never win in 2015 election. They need to prepare to win 2015 election. What they make up is they have already an animosity, as I explained, they win this, and then misunderstanding about Muslims and Rohingyas, and then they employ their agent, and then to organize this kind of violence. And then they provide all the assistance, all the impunities, everything to them, so that a huge polarization happens. And then the population is very polarized with the ultra-nationalist mind. And Aung San Suu Kyi has to risk the political gain. If Aung San Suu Kyi speak up, and then there is a trap for her, she knew that. We believe her. She want to talk about this atrocity committed to the Rohingyas, but she is also now a politician. She is no longer a human rights defender. She is looking to get the office of the presidency. That's why she cannot talk anything.
So she's on a political tightrope. Did you have anything to add about the Burmesization?
Burmanization, yes. Burmanization, I think the Myra,
Okay.
yeah.
Htay, did you have anything to say on either Aung San Suu Kyi or the Burmesization by the government?
Urbanizations. Our country, majority people are Burmese, tried to Burmanize the whole country since 1936. The pioneer is Sayajit Thakenguromai, the leader of General Aung San. So before General Aung San and Thakenu raised out from the political field, Sayajit Thakenguromai set up this mind to Burmanize and Buddhism, to combat the Buddhism, because of he has how is this called?
Anti
Xenophobia. Xenophobia, yes. And he set up the plan. So when General Aung San stand up there like the union, but he changed Pati to Myanmar Muslim. Before there is no Myanmar Muslim people in Burma. Their name is Pati. There's an ethnic group. But they want to diminish, they want to less and less, want to wipe out like the Rohingya people. Aung San acknowledged as Myanmar Muslim. And when the Kenu come in, they stay on. They destroy, they wipe out the Ken party. When General Lwin coup the state power, totally wipe out from the ethnic group list. Now, 1982 citizenship law, there is no more Myanmar Muslim, Pachu, Tande, Myedu, Pati, and Rohingya. All these are Islamic faith. Only one tribe, very small people come out. And the others ethnic group, some ethnic group is 100% Christianity, like Zomi. So they want to wipe out. No more Zomi and our ethnic group. But some ethnic group is big, like Hmong Buddhism, Chan Buddhism, Pa'o Buddhism, Rakhine Buddhism, they keep it. And Korean, there are two groups, Christian and Buddhism. They made the divided rule. Buddhist is now they call, well, the government official made the statements. When we went to Korean state, we found three kind of people in Korean state. One is Burmese, one is Burmese Korean, one is Christian Korean. I said, what? They see Burmese, okay, some Burmese live in there. There are two Korean, Burmese Korean. That made Buddhism Korean. And the other is Christian Korean. So they want to wipe out the Christian Korean. They try to Burmanize. So this is wrong way.
Let me add a few things direct to Burmanization about the language.
So, very, very quickly.
Yes, very
because we
quick.
have so many questions.
Actually, after General Ne Win come, there is no real history. It is just a propaganda. So many of the Burmese now genuinely believe that, with ignorance, they believe that Burmese people must speak Burmese language, which is wrong because Burma is composed of too many different empires. If they have been to all the states, all the ethnic area, they came to know that there are not many people speak Burmese there. The same thing, they have accused Rohingya that Rohingyas cannot speak Burmese because Rohingya never speak Burmese. They were not part of Burma. They stay in their area. So that has to be understood by the majority of Burmese people.
And on constitution, did you want to say something?
I think, like we said earlier, she's a politician, so she has to watch out because she also wanted to achieve whatever she wants to achieve, the election. But the problem is that as long as this constitution is not changed for her, she's still the mother of foreigners. She's still a female, and she doesn't have military background, so the constitution will have to change someone, and that is what we're trying to advocate for. But I still believe that she still have the rights to speak out about human rights, and I wish she would do that. When it comes to Burmanization, I think what's going on with the Burmese generation is that they have the policy of one nation, one religion, one ethnic group, and one language. And that is why they're trying to Burmanize and everybody in so many different ways, whether brutally or nicely or whatever that is. So the bottom line, it comes down to their policy.
All right, we've got lots of...
Report about this whole situation, which is printed in Burmese and English, and is at governmental levels in Burma.
Please do send it to Dahgaypaw, and I'm sure he'd be very happy to post a link on the website.
Okay.
Was there a question, sir?
Well, the question is basically, I want to talk about the Rakhine situation, the Rakhine Buddhist perspective of what happened. Okay.
We're not going to have time at this event to do that. So if you have a
Okay.
question of these panelists, please go ahead and ask.
Okay, then I'll simply say, panelists, what can you tell us about the Rakhine Buddhist suffering in the 1942 Mongdaw massacre, and the Mujahideen army, and the recent terrorist training, and the Al-Qaeda links, and the recent Rakhine leaders in Indonesia asking for bomb-making experts?
All right.
That's a start.
Thank you. And yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Myra. I'm activist from this Bay Area, and thank you so much for holding this beautiful event, and appreciate all speakers. I'm Rakhine. I'm from Rakhine State. I'm a human rights activist. My question is, I have one question that we know that when whole country, Rakhine State, is burning home, girls are raped, murdered, or sister, daughters, that time is the both side. I would not say decided. The people of Rakhine State, the people suffer. And today is that we bring this attention globally that Rohingya people not only suffer, the we are Rakhine people also suffer. So today's the people I'm so really concerned about our national security for Burma and international globally. Because it's most of people using as a tools, religion as a tool. Religion is our belief. Muslim and Buddhist, Hindu, Christian, we live together in the community. And people like government and other people create as a tools the religion they want destroy the peace. I
We
really
need a
come.
question, ma'am.
My question is, why all we are talking about today? Are we fighting religion? And also, I wonder that why we are not thinking about that the suffer the whole the countries. We work together, not divided Muslim and Buddhist, and we should not divide in future because this is undermine our security and it undermine our developing the countries and peace. So thank you so much. We look forward to talking to you soon.
Here, here. And we have time, did you have your question, Michelle?
It's very brief. Are there any internal Burmese human rights organizations or movements where, for example, Buddhists or anybody are organizing to protect human rights of everybody? And corollary, if Aung San Suu Kyi becomes president, can we hope that she might do the right thing?
Let's go down this way. I'll start with any of those.
Okay, I'll be very quick. I do appreciate your concern about Arakanese. I have concern over them too. I said the same thing. They all are human beings, but just today, because the event is focusing on Rohingya and therefore we're talking about Rohingya, but that doesn't mean that I don't concern about Arakanese. I have a lot of friends, and Lwin is another friend of mine. I'm concerned about our friends over back home too. And we work together to share information. So I just want you all not to see me as somebody who cares about pretty much everyone, but not just a specific group. Because I have that experience myself, and I know that pain. Maybe better than you know that pain. So having said that, I spoke out so many times. When the issue started off, I was like, why people talk about only Rohingya but not the suffering of the Arakanese? But here we come down to the point where there's no accountability, and then a lot of times it seems as if the news is coming out from only one side. And that is why I'm trying to work with some Arakanese friends. I was like, why don't you guys put the news out there? Your information has to come out so that we know about your situation too. So that is where we are. Regarding, the national security, I think that's very important, but also one has to remember that the Burmese authority is very smart. They like to use the divide and rule policy to divide us. And you're totally right. I totally agree that we have to be very careful at this moment that we don't divide people. Instead of we talk about things in a different perspectives, but at the same time, one has to understand that we all are the people from Burma, and the bottom line, we still have to care about the issues that comes up from Burma. Aung San Suu Kyi will be doing an effective work or not is very much depending on the Constitution. If the Constitution allow her to have that position, she could have done a very good job. I believe in her. But the problem is, if the military is still on top of the power chain, 25% nobody can disturb, she won't be able to get through. Because for her to be able to amend a piece of Constitution, she needs 76%. And her party has only 6.7, not even 7% in the power chain right now. And also one has to remember that the top of the power chain is the commander-in-chief. And then the security, the defense council. And then the president, who he thinks in right now. So if Aung San Suu Kyi is the president, she's going to be in the third line. So that is also very important, that the Constitution has to change to a certain extent that the military has to give up that supreme power and work towards democratic change. So let's hope for the best, and that is why I need your help to help us make some change.
Htay, do you have a comment or response?
Yeah, the gentleman said about the 1942 conflict in Rakhine. So I was born in Rakhine families, and my parents and my family still live in Rakhine State. So in 1942, the British nationalists, fascist Japanese came to our country. The British nationalists, fascist government have guns. They stand on Rakhine side. When the conflict, when the communal violence, you can think, what side is more harm? What side is more kill? British, Japanese, princess, nationalists came to, and at that time, the monk center made the problem. My grandfather was a monk who bought up. When he organized to my grandfather said, no, Muslims and our Rakhine people stay here for a long time ago. And that area, we cannot do that. You go to your north. You don't come to southern area.
Can I just clarify?
Wait.
Well, let's have this discussion afterwards.
And the other one, so maybe you may be my relation. You and I speak with the Rakhine language. I'm concerned for both people. I have a lot of friends, a lot of brother in Rakhine people. We send the NGO, publicity or non-publicity, to go to help both people. But who drive off? A lot of people know. Who drive off? Giving the many reasons. We want to help. We want to build up our Rakhine state like Singapore or Hong Kong. This is I speaking from my heart. And Rakhine activist Khan Kongzang, Choto, is my close friend. I talked to him many times. Still now I call. We need to set up the moderate persons who lead the community and both sides. Now, too many nationalists, too many extremists because of backed by the government. We need to think clearly. One side is backed by the government. Now, very recent, the borderless daughter group drove out from this land. Who drove out it? Rohingya or Rakhine? Muslim or Buddhism? You need to think. The doctors from foreigner, they heal and they care every human being. Oh, we choose. Hey, these are Bengali. You know, I know. How can we think about Rohingya people? When we went to school, when we was young, we think they are slaves. They are slaves. They are Negro. We think like this. We need to set up our mind fast. Because our 21st century is the civilized society, not the barbarian. So, gentlemen, if you want to discover the history, today I cannot give the time too much. My uncle is the senior of Htay, chief police of Rakhine State, Mr. Stacy. I know everything in Rakhine State. Please, you hold on and you calm down your mind.
For the gentleman, he brought out books and he made a lot of statements about the poem and all this thing. I actually like to have time with you one by one, and then I will go through all this. Some of them are allegations. We will go through that with the different setting. Maybe we may have a debate for that topic. We can do that. So, for a lady about the Rakhine people suffering, that's true. Because when there is a fire, when there is a violence, no one gets benefited. When there is a civil war, no one gets benefited. There is no gainer. And in Arakan, the land that we love so much, there is a violence. No one gets benefited. That message we need to deliver to every people in the Arakan state. No one is going to get any benefit. But now is government of Burma, led by Htay, who is the main perpetrator of this, and made use of Rakhine people. That's why we never make a statement Rakhine is bad. They are made use of Rakhine people, showing that, giving all the citizenship and all this thing, and suppress these people, no citizen, they are not human beings, you can do whatever you want, and bringing the violence and taking advantage for their political gain. We have to come together and then we have to make government accountable for the conflict. We will be living with the peace. We can live peace together and the nation. And then the other one is, if you see the, in the city, the population is about 40 and 60. If you see casualty of this, 95% are the Muslim who is the victim who was killed. 140,000 people are in the camp and permanently segregated. And Doctors Without Borders, who is giving medical treatment, government is not able to give medical treatment to any citizens in Burma because they don't have budget, they don't have any facility. But they are letting all these Rohingya people in the camp to die without medical facility. And this is done by the government. We need to know who is the root cause of the problem. This is the government.
I believe Doctors Without Borders were sent out of the country 3 days ago.
Yeah, but now they say they can operate in any part of Burma except in the Rakhine state. So in the Rakhine state, in the IDP camp, 140,000 people are lack of medical access, and only MSF is giving now. Government never give them. And then if they go away, what will happen? So this is all is done by the government of Myanmar for their political gain. Burman the supremacy is doing. That is nothing to do with actually Rakhine and Rohingyas. We can live peace.
All right, yes, yes ma'am, yes sir. Let's take the next question.
Yeah, does Amnesty International or Human Rights Watch have a presence in Burma? And if so, are they exposing human rights violations?
Hey, do you want to start this one?
Yeah, that's why when someone asked to me how the United States cooperate with the military, I said, yes, I agree. Because I know that even our President Stacy became the chairman of ASEAN. Nobody can do it. Because of the main players pulled it back. The big China. They play the Burmese policy. I know about 80%. 20% is nationalist. That's why whatever I want to do, we need to go in fast. We need to do the brainwash path. Because we are not playing with the Burmese government. We are playing with the China. We need to know that.
And then for the sister Yasmin, actually, I was involving for about this Burmese government diverting things for a long time. So they always do that. Let me give a brief example about what they did in 1997. There was monthly a communal violence. Actually, it is started by Mahamyamuni Pagoda. There is a ruby there. It's the Burmese government. They take the junta, military junta. They take it away, and then some monk they knew that they want to go against Burma and call for the whole nation demonstration. So Burmese government knew about that, and they have actually some agent monk pretending to be monk, Buddhist monk. They actually started instigating go after Muslims. Then there was a huge monk, and then polarization happened, go after Muslims, and then military came, and then they arrested all the people who want to do demonstration nationwide. So the same thing, Maitila and Lebron, they do all the time. When there is a political difficulties, they try to divert attention, and then they try to arrest whoever they wanted when this happened. So that's definitely they are doing.
Did you want to say something about Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International's presence in Burma?
They do, well, especially Human Rights Watch, they do go in, but of course they don't have access to some crucial locations where we want them to have access, and that's a very unlucky thing because the UN is using the word sovereignty in a very, I think, misleading way. And that is why the Burmese authority that has the sovereignty, but not the people of Burma, and therefore the real situation on the ground that we want the reports and all this stuff to be reflected on. Maybe you don't get to see all those information, and that's a very sad thing. And that is why we have to keep advocate on behalf of the people of Burma and making sure that we get to the point where we need to. And therefore, I'm seeking your help.
And so on that note, I would like to thank our panelists for explaining your thoughts, your positions, your history, and also being very clear on how we can assist from this point here. A long way away, but we still have our own political pressures that we can bring to bear. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Real quickly, I would just like to mention that Stan has a letter outside that you can sign to asking Representative Anna Eshu to co-sponsor House Resolution 418 to put more pressure on Burma's government to stand up for human rights, and we'll be working on some of the other human rights advocacy that was mentioned tonight. So all the Stan members are clustered around here, so you can come talk to us if you have any questions, and definitely check out the materials outside. Thanks everyone for coming.